perfect cue that makes sense within our storyline for waiting in a dark ride.
Deranged Haunted Attraction is an incredible home haunt turned pro with a crazy actor-driven backstory. Today we're here with the owner, Mike, and one of the builders, John.
That was one of the best tips that we ever got. I hate giving this scare away because it is a good one. It was because of the number of kills in the Scream movies.
They're gonna walk us through for a behind the scenes tour with you guys here in the daylight. And be sure to subscribe because we're coming back tonight for a full show. But without further ado, let's go ahead and look at some spooky stuff.
We are at Deranged. Let's see if anybody's here.
Hello?
Hello?
Housekeeping?
Hey, Scare Factor, what's up? I didn't know you guys were coming out today.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a few things ready here for our halfway Halloween trail. You guys want to come check things out?
Let's
Heck
check
yeah.
it out.
Awesome. My name is Mike Fini. I'm the owner here at Deranged Haunted Attraction. We've been open here since 2018 here in Romulus, Michigan. We started out as a home haunt back in around 2015 in my parents' driveway, and as we've gone on over the years, we've expanded and we've gotten to the point where we are today. So even when we started here on this property, there really wasn't much to look at, and all of the structures have kind of accumulated over the years. Where we started out, there was a bus, there was a house, and there was a flat facade that was an ice cream shop. And that was 2018, and we somehow managed to survive beyond those years into what we are now.
How do you guys do your ticketing? You just do basic tickets? Or?
Yeah, basic online tickets is what we use. We use a site called Ticket Tailor, actually, that most haunt companies don't use, as they're used for other events, but we've been with them since our first day, and they've been great to us. So shout out to Ticket Tailor. But they enter in here through our pumpkin archway, the portal as we call it. We have a sign behind us, and then they, like you said, they split into their lines. And even if people do buy a ticket, we still bring them through here to check in, which is something that some haunts don't do. And there's a little confusion sometimes with customers, but we also like our guests to come in to our facility because A, we have merchandise, and B, also, you know, sometimes if you get a group that's intoxicated, you can nip it in the bud and make sure that doesn't cause any problems inside.
Go ahead and weed them out right
yes,
there.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you guys are also very story-driven, right?
Extremely story-driven.
So set the stage for us here. What's going on?
Yeah, we don't have too many animatronics, and we are very actor-based and very story-driven as well. So it's kind of old-school haunted house in that regard. As we started as a home haunt, you know, we didn't have this giant budget for tech or anything crazy expensive. So a lot of the stuff might still have kind of a little bit of a home haunt feel, as pretty much everything here is built in-house. I mean, we have over 250 pumpkins carved that have all come from Michael's Crafts after Halloween, when we can get them down for like $4 or $5, and all individually carved. So they all look different, and you know, everything we're doing. Our storyline is kind of revolving around the town of what we call Covensfield. So we didn't always have that name. We knew we had a town, but we were like, oh, we need something that is going to hit. We don't want to just pick a name and then have to change it in a year or two. So a couple of years ago, we started getting into, we're like, oh, we're going to lean towards witches, and we're going to lead to a witch storyline. So we're like, well, before we get to the witch itself, let's just kind of tongue-in-cheek Covensfield here, and kind of, you know, small town America, like Michael Myers, Halloween, Haddonfield, Illinois, you know, something along those lines, where we create this little bit of blurred line between Romulus, Michigan, where we are, and the town that we are in, which is Covensfield. So the witch has kind of taken over the years. 2024 is really where our current storyline began, where we did a mayor election. So we had a mayor that was being re-elected, who was Mayor Lumpy Conwell. He was never actually elected, but he was up for re-election, and he went up against Victor Callaway, who was the guy running against him for mayor. We had these ideas of this storyline to do an election years ago. And the last big election, we're like, well, we want to time it out with like, maybe an American presidential election. And then, you know, we got to 2020, and we're like, maybe this isn't the best year. Things are a little crazy right now. We don't want to touch too hard on anything. So we kind of got pushed back, and it's for the best because we got a lot better from 2020 to 2024 when we really started diving into the storyline. So the two mayors went at it. We actually had people vote with the end of their ticket stub at the end of the attraction. Victor Callaway did win, and he kind of became the mayor. And last spring, when we did our first blood sacrifice event, he was conducting a blood sacrifice to try and summon this witch. And he was successful, and now the witch is starting to take over the entire town.
I remember he was doing some kind of suspicious stuff back there.
Yes, he was in the woods. Yes. There was that cult activity back there that kind of led to the blood sacrifice, and then the storyline had the witch coming in last fall, so we constructed a witch house for her residency, and then now she's starting to take over the entire town as we get to this spring.
Sounds very unique and creative.
Yes, yeah, we try and keep the storyline in there, and it also makes it fun for us, you know, because we're pretty much working on this year-round as a project. We don't build too much in January, February, but we really get into the storyline among those months where we're going, hey, what else can we do for this while we're not here? Because we are in Michigan, it snows, it gets very cold, and we prefer not to be outside screwing things together on the top of icy ladders. So
Not the preferred method. Yeah.
No, not at all. So we really get into the storyline in the winter, and we kind of figure out where it's going, and we also have ideas sometimes. Sometimes the storyline drives the idea, and sometimes the idea drives the storyline. So we kind of had this idea of doing a candy factory, And we're like, well, how can we tie this in? So our former mayor, Mr. Conwell, who did not win the election, last year he was kind of wandering around. He was kind of just pushing a shopping cart throughout
pretty
here.
homeless.
Yes, yeah, I called him homeless, and he said that he was an unhoused gentleman, and he wanted that to be confirmed. But yeah, so the idea was he was kind of wandering around, and we frequently saw him kind of scratching off lottery tickets. And surprise, surprise, he won the lottery.
Oh.
And so what he did with that money is he found our old industrial area, Greeno Industries, that was up for sale, and with that money he decided to buy it. And it was a toxic waste facility, but why not now a candy factory?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the new storyline that is venturing into this spring's Halfway to Halloween event.
We're eating some of the candy, right?
For sure.
I wouldn't recommend it. Would not recommend it. Also here with me today is one of our builders, John Hunt. He does a little bit of everything in the haunt industry, and he's been a game changer for us. So we'll be going along for the ride.
Hi, everybody.
For folks that haven't been here yet, what's your normal role here at, or acting role at Deranged?
Well, there's a crazy guy back there at the dock there. I heard his name is Gillian. He's been, unfortunately, due to the Greeno chemicals, he got a little mutated with the waters, went a little crazy, became partial fish-like too.
Sounds like another little play on words there, Gil.
Yes.
Gil,
Yeah.
fishy.
Yep, there was stuff being dumped in the lake in our. We'll get through the full story, but back in Lake Zika, Greeno Industries, which I had previously mentioned, was dumping chemicals in that lake, and that might have had some effects on some characters back there.
No,
and
the chemicals are perfect.
Yes, and we have a pretty large group of us here. We're a small group of haunters, but a large group of us are professional wrestling fans as well. So we frequently follow the term in professional wrestling, which is an old Carney term of kayfabe, which if you guys
That's where
don't
that
know,
came from.
yes, it is kind of creating that illusion that this is real. You know, or it's like, oh, everybody knows professional wrestling isn't real, but for the longest time you would never see The Undertaker as Mark Calloway. He was just The Undertaker.
Yeah.
You know, he never broke that. So as John mentioned there, he's, you know, he goes, oh, there was a guy in the woods, is because he's kind of playing into that kayfabe where it's, you know, it's the same thing with the Disney employees. Nobody's going, hey, I'm Mickey Mouse, but hey, I'm friends with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And that's kind of code in Disney that, hey, we put on the head when we're clocked in. So we try and follow that as much as we can. And we got a few nerdy wrestling things in there as well. So
Lots of character development.
yes, absolutely.
It makes it more real.
I agree. You know, that's the thing is a lot of the time people, even if they know that these are not real monsters and these are not real things happening, they want to be immersed in that storyline and that illusion that it is real, similarly to professional wrestling. You know, most people aren't going thinking, oh, John Cena's really going to beat this guy up, but they're here for the entertainment. So we're going to do the best we can to let them dive into that world. So, and as we are setting up for a Halfway to Halloween event, you might see some things behind the scenes that aren't quite ready, like we don't have all our queue line ropes up yet. And
It is May.
And it is May.
it is May as well. So, you know, our show is pretty ready to go. But, you know, there's a few little things here and there that we don't have completely ready yet. So once they go through the box office, they approach this archway here. We split general admission to the left, our fast pass to the right. And we're actually in the idea of changing something up, which I haven't seen done at a haunted house, but I've seen frequently at theme parks with a single rider line. And we've, you know, on our busier nights, we're trying to figure out how can we make our line go faster without just pushing people through to the point where you feel like cattle and you're not enjoying the show. Because we love going to haunted houses, and we've been on both sides. You know, sometimes you wait in line too long and you're like, wow, this is great that we're all by ourselves and just our group, but we waited 3 hours to go in. And sometimes, you know, you're just kind of getting shuffled through and you're like, wow, this is a beautiful haunted house, but we didn't really feel like we got that full experience. So one thing we're kind of toying around with the idea of is doing a single rider type line where groups of like 2 or 3 can join another group of 2 or 3, or individuals, and they're like, hey, are you guys wanting to go with a group to get in quicker or not? And because we've had that as well, where we've gone to haunted house and they're like, all right, well, you 3 are with you 3, and we're like, well, like we don't really gel personality wise. We kind of thought we were coming as our own group, because that's what it was sold as, and now we don't really, you know, it kind of feels a little weird. You're like, I don't really know these people. So that's for people if they want to opt into it. That we're giving that a try before we just start grouping people together, because we want them to get them in quick, but we also want to make sure that experience is still there. So when Mayor Conwell was in charge, he decided to build this mall. And there's a little bit of, you know, backstory there, kind of along the lines of, I guess I'd say, like a poltergeist, where he didn't really know exactly what he was building this mall on top of. So this was some of the Gordon family's farm that they had to sell off. They lost their son years ago, and it kind of put the family in shambles, and they had to sell off some of their land. And where this stands is some of the land. So this is Starfall Mall that Mayor Conwell had put into construction as kind of a last-ditch effort to get some final votes. He kind of felt like he wasn't going to win this election, but he was like, you know what? A new mall will fix everything. So that's what he attempted to do. He still lost the election, but yes, the mall has seen better days. It now is slapped with a for sale sign. And as you can see, there's some vine-type things that are taking over. The witch is kind of putting her curse on the entire town. And the beginning of April, which is about a month ago, we also had tornado heavy winds that came through here. And being a relatively styrofoamish facade, it took some damage. So we're like, well, I guess the witch is taking over the mall as well, and we found a creative way to implement the storyline and also kind of fix things up from those storm damages that we had. So
well, and it goes along with the dilapidated nature.
Yes,
it's for sale.
Right, it's for sale. The mall is kind of abandoned at this point. So 3 years ago, if you came here, you would have saw Starfall Mall kind of booming because it was the new mall. Very quickly, it did not work out. As we know, Conwell did not win the election, and then it kind of ran down very quickly from that. So a lot of that is getting, it's seen better days, and now we have this for sale sign. Here's our scummy realtor here. He's actually a friend of ours named Adam Delay. So he tagged his real name with the "Don't Delay, Call Today." This was originally with Greeno Industries, this sign, because Greeno Industries was for sale last year. And we got a scummy realtor here. He can't afford a new sign, so he just reused the same one, Not for food production, which was on that Greeno sign. And this number used to be able to call. It was a Google Voice that has since lapsed, but we will be ideally implementing a new one soon. But it was all about Greeno Industries and how lovely it was, despite being a chemical waste plant. So let's head on to the Starfall Mall. Here's a shopping cart and a hat from the Mayor Conwell, who kind of, when he was a little bit one of those unhoused gentlemen. Here we have our mall map, and as you can see, things have kind of, we went from printing a nice sign, and now we just have Sharpie signs on there. Yes. Here we have some movie posters as well. So some of them are just generic posters. This one here is for the Disney movie, Under Wraps. And for anybody that is a fan of the movie, they might know that this isn't the actual kid that is in the movie. This is actually one of our actors. And he looked a lot like the kid from the movie, so we just threw his face on there.
That's great.
And I actually worked at the Scream Machine Haunted House in Taylor before I opened Deranged back when I was home haunting. They were kind enough to allow me to guest act a few nights there. And as a little touch, that was one of their icon characters for several years, Dr. Strock, not the actual mummy from Under Wraps.
So how cool.
So if you guys have been through that attraction or are aware of their lore, that is Dr. Strock from Scream Machine, and that's just one of our actors, John Shim, who's also got a little ode over here.
And I wouldn't trust this.
That's not a normal movie poster, is it?
No, it's a little bit of aluminum, might make a louder noise if it happened to fall or something like that.
Right.
So here we have Star Cinema, which is the theater which is in a mall, which is something that I personally love seeing a good theater in a mall. It just reminds me of my childhood going to malls and when they were booming. So this originally, Star Cinema was actually a facade that was the main entrance once upon a time prior to Starfall Mall coming in. So Star Cinema's here. The movie showing is Hellmare. There's actually a film group out of Detroit, RFN Pictures, who produced a movie called Hellmare. And they filmed that here parts of that here after our Halfway to Halloween last year. So they came through as guests for Halfway to Halloween and went, wow, this is really cool. We want to film some shots here. Is there any way we could do that? And we were like, absolutely. So after they filmed that, I think they actually are coming out later this spring, that movie, and they're looking for distribution. So if anybody's in that realm, RFN Pictures is there. And they had a short film as well before that, but Hellmare was their first full feature-length film, and they filmed parts of that here. John Hunt was actually an extra in that.
Very cool.
And what's a rundown mall without a Spirit Halloween coming? I think they're coming for some airplanes pretty soon, but for now they got this spot in the mall. And of course, in a rundown mall, why would they take their Christmas decorations down? So we do a Christmas event as well, and we had this up for that, and we're like, we're taking all our Christmas decor down. And we're like, well, does the mall really need it removed? Because a few years ago, I went to a local mall. I won't name it because they seem to be angry when people point out the fact that people don't show up there anymore. But I was there in March, and I was like, why is there a Christmas tree? And I'm like, well, okay, well, we can keep our tree up in May then. So
that rabbit always freaking gets me.
There once upon a time was an actor in that suit. Now I think I see a bird's nest peeking out of the eye. So I don't think that's really a wearable costume anymore. Boomers was a set that we had for several years inside the attraction where we actually had a full-built arcade. It was not working, but we did. We had some arcade games, and we had some full cabinets as well that we had acquired over the years. I spent several years working in the arcade industry and entertainment industry, and like, this would be so cool to have an arcade, kind of Five Nights at Freddy's-ish, and that was a scene for a while, but most of these games, even if they're not working, are not built out of materials that are meant to hold up outside. So they were good for about 2 or 3 years, and we're like, okay, we got to get rid of that. But we had a sign, and we're like, well, we need stores for the mall. Let's toss it in there. And we also have, hiding behind the tree there, we have Radio Hut, a little bit of Radio Shack, Pizza Hut, kind of fitting into those old 80s vibes, 90s vibes. Behind there, we have Victor's Secret, which was kind of a little bit of an ode to when we had that mayor character, Victor Calloway, where the secret was that he was leading a cult, not that he was wearing lingerie, but it was a clever name for a store, so we threw it out.
Well, the song said it was an old man in Ohio, so,
Yeah,
you know, it's not too far from here.
Maybe they meant Michigan.
Yeah,
Maybe
right. And then we're into the food court now, as this has seen some days. As I mentioned, that actor back there on that movie poster, John Shim, he's been with us since our early home haunting days, so we had to tag him a few places in here. And we have John Shim juice, which most of our actors are not too fond of. Stay away from the Shim juice, but we figured, why not? We need some cool neon signs, and we'll do a juice bar. We have Craven Pizza over here, and our layout's changed a little bit over the years, as you used to go back around there through the restrooms, and there with Craven Pizza, that was pretty much an ode to the original Scream movies. I personally am not a super duper horror buff. I enjoy my horror movies, but I can't tell you who directed every single film here and there. But, you know, Wes Craven, who can deny it? So we had Crave and Pizza. The number here for this, I don't know if it's a real phone number or not. So if it is, and it's your number, I'm sorry if people call you. But the number that it was created was because of the number of kills in the Scream movies. So it was 7, 10, 10, 11, 8, and 13. And then there's the new one, which, you know, is not on there. And of course, Pizza by The Slice. Kind of know to go's face, and whole pizza just $19.96, which may be a little expensive for the time the mall was around, but the year of the original Scream movie, 1996. So that's why that price is.
There you go.
Who comes up with all these Easter eggs?
It's a big thing amongst our team. I come up with a lot of them. I know John Hunt will come up with some in our main builder, as well as Adam Greeno. And so when we're all just talking around like, hey, what can we do? And like, oh, well, can we find a way to implement something to make it not just say, oh, we have pizza? You know, like, if we're going to make a menu, let's find some real prices. And if we can get creative with it, let's do it. You know, and if we can find a way to work something in that makes it a little bit more fun behind the scenes for us, all for it. So you used to go through the restroom area, and here we have opened up a new storefront. It's missing its sign at this moment, but it is a ode to our new candy factory. So this was open at Christmas originally for our Christmas event, and we called it the Holly Jolly Emporium. So it was a candy shop where we will then go through the Conwell factory back there. This is kind of, like filtering the goods into here, and then you kind of exit through a back door, and it leads you to this factory where you kind of get to see all the quirky things going on. And you know, we have different specials here for what's going on, and then on the back side, don't eat the candy. It's making people crazy. So
if you turn around and look,
So most people probably will not notice that, but it is there, and that was an Easter egg that John just recently put in here as well.
Nice.
So.
Now I'm going to be looking at everything and getting scared more because I'm going to be
more
distracted. Okay, the donuts look pretty good. I'm going to take one of those.
Yeah, those are actually Christmas ornaments, believe it or not. They made like styrofoam donut Christmas ornaments. And we're like, perfect. Like, we got a donut sign, and now we have donuts. So we're always trying to get creative, and you know, being a relatively smaller haunted attraction, we're not buying these super big expensive things, and we're using what we have. And you know, we'll find stuff off Marketplace, or you know, back in the day when we first started Craigslist, and we were like, oh, we have this donut sign, and now we found a spot for the donut sign. So there's lots of little things that sometimes we're like, oh, we really need this for a set. We either need to buy it or we need to hunt it down. But sometimes it's also just, hey, we have this. Let's build a set around it. So now you're kind of going through that back hallway. You can kind of see some piping that was originally part of the Greeno Industries factory, and we repurposed some stuff. And as you exit out, you see all these barrels, which is a little bit suspicious when you're leaving a candy shop.
It's a lot of sugar, right?
Lots of sugars, sweeteners, and other goods. And here we kind of make this break-in type to this yard where you're going, hey, what's going on here? If they got 24-hour surveillance and no trespassing, why are we entering through this gate?
Most candy factories don't look like that.
Most do not. And I will say our show does look a lot better with the lights off. There are some shows that look great in all lighting. We're a little bit better at night. And a lot of these barrels here will glow green to show that they once upon a time had that chemicals in it from the Greeno toxic waste facility.
Greeno, okay.
Yes,
right.
Greeno, which was the chemical dumping plant, and this candy factory is kind of taking the place of what was Greeno Industries. So we replaced the building completely, but it was a factory. It is again a factory, just under a little different circumstances here.
Yeah, see Greeno up there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they got their own.
Yeah, they got some barrels that are left over, but now is the candy factory reusing these same barrels that had toxic waste?
No.
If it's making the people crazy, something's wrong with it. So here we're kind of walking in this electrical shack, and of course we have the old poppers that'll go off, and then you kind of start heading down here, and this is kind of phase 1 of phase 2 of a redoing of this whole Greeno area. You'll kind of enter into the maintenance tunnels of the candy factory first.
Wasn't this like the sewer?
Yes. It was a sewer, and there's some toxic waste that may be around. I know the lighting isn't the best in here. It's one of the darker areas. And as you pop out of the maintenance tunnels, we have the Conwell Candy Company building.
Okay.
So we got a loading dock up here to the right. And then, of course,
that's the sugar, so there must be something else in those barrels.
Yes, there's something else in the barrels. I don't know exactly what, but we have the sugar here.
John's like,
So you enter into here, which is our main lobby here of the Conwell Candy Company. You can see some treats on the desk, and the idea is that you're going on a factory tour. If you guys notice, there's a sign outside. The idea is that, hey, we're taking people on a tour of this new facility. So in here, we kind of have a little bit of a maintenance video, like, hey, make sure you guys don't cut off your fingers or your hands. It's just one of those old, weird kind of, we're going to sit you down and make you watch this for an hour video. But we also have some candies that are thrown up on the walls. As I mentioned, a lot of us are wrestling fan nerds, and I don't know how much you guys know about professional wrestling, but in the 90s there was an announcer, Jim Ross, who, when there was a crazy match, he'd call it a slobber knocker, and we're like, well, what better name than the slobber knocker candy jawbreakers? So that's kind of the featured candy of the Conwell Candy Company right now, is their new slobber knockers, which they are. So there's something with the jawbreakers that are going on.
I would buy a bag of those.
Yeah, right. Got to work on that for our gift shop. So,
yes.
So once you exit there, you're kind of entering into the factory area, this is all new for our halfway show this year.
I like how there's something above there too.
Yes, we like the overhead stuff where we can get it. We're a big fan of implementing our actors into different spots. So I don't think there's a single actor here that has one scare. And I mean, you guys have been through. If you haven't, you'll frequently see an actor 4 or 5 times. And we've kind of got these back hallways that will kind of lead to them to areas, and a lot of times the guests are circling as to where the scares are going to be. So they're walking right into it over and over. That spot up top will probably be used occasionally, but probably not all that frequently, as, you know, a lot of the times when an actor has to go up, which he's a very tall man on top of there.
No kidding.
It can take a second for them to get back down. So although there will be several actors in this area, it kind of depends, and we like to build these. I, coming from more of an acting background than a building background myself, I like to build things that are kind of like jungle gyms for actors. Like I like to climb around things. I like, when I'm in a haunted house and worked in other haunted houses, I'm like, I don't want to just pop out once. I want to pop out once. I want to gauge the group. I want to see who's the most scared, who didn't get scared, and then I'd love a second chance to get that person that got scared again.
Yeah.
And that person that couldn't get scared the first time, I'm going to find a way to get them. Yeah. So we're always trying to find ways where we can get them multiple times throughout a scene. So.
Was not expecting
that. That's gonna help with burnout too, because we all have to kind of face it. Actors are a lot of them are stuck in that one position doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
So it's got to make it way more fun.
Yes, it makes it so much more fun, especially because a lot of these spots, you know, a lot of our new scenes especially have you know, mostly a dozen or more scares built into them for 2 or 3 actors to hit.
Oh, wow.
And we don't expect our actors to hit all 12 scares, but it's like, hey, there's like 3, you know, there's 12 here. Pick 3 or 4. Find what works for you. Find a way to make it fun. And we find that as well as guests that come back even in the same season, which me as somebody that goes to haunted houses, typically I don't go to the same haunt twice in the same season because I'm like, well, it's the same thing.
Right,
you know,
right.
like there might be a thing or two different that they change from the last week of September till Halloween, but it's mostly the same haunt. And I figure when we build in these, you know, spots where we have 10 or 12 scares, just if there's a different actor in that spot, you might get a completely different show in that area because it's a different actor that doesn't want to climb up top. You know, now this one would prefer crawl on the ground, so you're getting somebody popping up from under the tub or from behind these pipes, and just kind of depending on the actor, building those scenes for them to be as active or climbing or as athletic as they want to be, or if they just want to pop out and hit some good scares that way, allow both.
Heck yeah.
So we're leaving the factory part and going more into the shipping and distribution area. Roller here where products are coming out and being loaded up to be taken out of here. And although we don't have many animatronics, we do like to work on some practical scares.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that was not an animatronic, so how does it work?
Behind there, there's it's on a pulley system. He's got a hinge back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you guys want to come back here. So
we got
and that's the thing is, like, this is not something that one actor this would be their only job. You know, they're going to scare them 3 or 4 times in there, and then on the way out, they're going to come up here and give it a tip. So yeah, this is just on a pulley system. We use the nice little cable handle from a gym fly machine, and it just kind of give it a step. Give it a push,
so they literally just push
and it just bends over, and as the actor comes down, they can kind of use their momentum to reset for the next
Wow.
group. So super simple, very basic scare, but it does the trick, and especially when you can hit people from those angles. So like inside the factory, it's great to have an actor up there, but on a busy night, it's really hard to get up and down a bunch, but you can still attack them from above here. So I think those high and low scares will really get people.
Yes.
We don't want to overdo them because then everybody's looking at the ground or looking up because that's where they think it's coming from. But yeah, hitting them there, here and there, we like throwing them in.
And
So.
you don't have that signature air pop to let you know that to be on the lookout for something
Right.
too. So it's
Yes.
you either catch it.
It's just coming or it's not.
Yeah.
And sometimes too it'll get the back half of the group. Where the front half is already going forward, they don't see it, but the back half goes, "Whoa, what was that?" And confuses the front half. They start looking behind them, what happened? Boom, actor in their face, and we get
Now
them as
they're
well.
coming around the
yep,
corner.
right around the
Yep,
corner. Yep,
yep.
exactly.
Very clever.
So as you leave the candy factory here, you enter into the carnival. This was previously named the Herp and Dirt Brothers Circus and Carnival, and it is getting a rebranding. The main reason being, as goofy as it is, up there in our candy factory, of course, we love Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So, but we don't want to copy anything. We don't want to have Oompa Loompas. So what we have up there is Herpy Derpies. So those will be our resident slave labor workers that are busting the butts over there. And so we have taken the Herp Derp away from this, and we are going to be renaming it, which hasn't happened yet, but it will by the fall. It'll be the Dingaling Brothers Circus. So,
Oh.
and here we have some posters as we lead into the carnival. This is actually one of our actors, Calvin. We like making fun of the people that we employ, or at least I do. So we put Calvin on here as a skinnier guy, and we're like, let's see if the strong man can lift 25 pounds. And, here's another one of our actors here, Aaron. He actually doesn't work with us anymore.
Oh my goodness.
But yes, we made him into the human cannonball. Here we have the Invisible Man, another ode to wrestling, where we have John Cena, of course, with his 5 moves of doom. And you might be able to pick up the volume. There is a train in the background, and that is because a train basically borders the back of our property. So we have from the front where we started all the way back here to the train tracks. So we can't expand too far back or else we're in trouble.
Right.
I was gonna say, how much acreage is the
We are
trail
on 5 acres.
Okay.
Now that does include our parking lot, which takes probably about 1.5 acres of it, but we do still have some room to expand as well. And every year we're cutting more trees down, unfortunately. We try and avoid them where we can, but especially the bigger trees we leave, but the smaller stuff, if the path is dry enough for us to cut that way, we normally will. And that was one of the best tips that we ever got, was listen to the woods. And don't force a path to go one way. And the best time to cut, if anybody does a haunted trail, is right in the springtime after a big rainstorm, because you don't want to cut your path in June or July and then in October find out, oh, that's where the low point is, and now it's underwater and you need gravel and wood chips and everything to let customers come through on a busy night that's wet. So
Okay, makes good sense.
yes, yeah, and we here in Michigan have a thing that's called the Haunt Swap. It used to be run by the Michigan Haunters Association.
Yep.
I believe it still is. Our original year in 2018, we put on a show for them. And what that worked out as is haunts would open on a Monday or Tuesday that typically wouldn't be open.
Oh, yeah.
But it would give all the other haunts that were also not open on a Monday or Tuesday a chance to come see them. And then another haunt would open on a Monday or Tuesday the next week, and we would get a chance to go see them, because in the season, we're never going to make it out to see them on a Friday or Saturday night. So we put on a show for them in 2018, and we, like I said earlier, we didn't have much going on here. We had a bus, which is kind of behind me, and it's since been covered up. We had a house facade that was up in a field, and we had an ice cream shop facade, and there wasn't much else. And being somebody that loves haunted houses and goes to a lot of haunted attractions, and has worked in haunted attractions, I go, haunters are not the easiest people to scare. It's very difficult to scare haunters, and we don't have much in these woods. Like, we're a super low budget haunt, we don't have much for building materials, we don't have much for props, we're just open and we're trying to make it through. So we're like, well, we're not gonna scare these people, let's entertain them. And we had the idea, I say we, and I may or may not mean me, was to do, hey, let's do a Michael Myers. And they're like, oh yeah, well, Michael Myers isn't gonna scare haunters. Of course, we tried to shy away from those commercial characters, but we're like, what if we change it? And we do John's shaking his head back there in disappointment, as he may have witnessed this.
He'll get to why. He'll get to why.
And instead of Michael Myers, I put on a different type of suit and did a magic Michael Myers. I was in a little better shape then. But that was kind of our finale to the show, was a goofy thing. Because we're like, well, we can't scare them. We have to entertain them some way, because they're coming all the way out to see us. Let's do something goofy. And that poster up there is Michael the Magical, doing a penetrating performance, of course.
Gosh.
As that is kind of an ode to that goofy thing that we did in 2018 and will never be seen again.
I was one of the people that saw that. I was one of I came through Haunt Swap that week.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
that's still like embedded.
Yeah,
It's like,
nightmares.
that's
Is his favorite
it's
scene?
PTSD.
Yes.
Favorite scene?
Like I said, it's like, I don't, from the whole like first year coming through here, I fully remember like everything, and it's like that's what drawn me to this place. So, but just like the will of everything and all the scenes. I mean, the bunny outfit we were talking about up front, there was somebody wearing it, and we asked to give him a hug, and he gave a hug, and it was like crazy. Like, okay, it was one of the most wackiest off the wall.
Yeah, and that was our thing. We were just trying to do off the wall stuff. We're like, what can we do that haunters haven't seen? We do an 18 and up show, which is kind of, I would almost say like a softened down show of that, because with haunters as well, we're like, well, like these people know they know the deal. We're just gonna give them everything, but they could have the chainsaw guy, and he couldn't get the chainsaw working. I'm sure you guys have been through where he can't, like, why don't we go? But he was doing this, going, no, please don't go. And this doesn't happen. I promise, I can get it up, kind of thing with his back turned. So we're like, okay, well, we got the chainsaw, but let's find a way to incorporate it and make it a little bit goofy.
That's hilarious.
So we have little odes and Easter eggs like that to it. And here we are walking into our carnival, which was a new scene last fall. So.
Oh, there's
the box for Michael the Magical. And what we wanted to do with this as well is, we liked having a carnival scene because we like incorporating clowns, because people either love or hate clowns. It's a love or hate thing. But one thing that we found fun about doing this big top was that we didn't have to do a clown in here. And especially with the posters, it's like one night we could have the strong man that's in here. One night it could be the magician. Or if somebody really wants to be a clown, this is a way to fit it in as well. So we don't always have clowns. Occasionally there will be a clown here. But we just wanted to do something where we're like, well, we don't want to just get stuck in doing this clown thing, because everybody does the clown thing. Let's find a way that we can also incorporate things. But if there's a night that calls for a clown, we have the perfect set for it. So
we get the audience over here.
The audience of dolls.
Yes, yeah. That's the thing that I personally am not a fan of in my own haunt.
Dolls.
I was like, they don't scare me. I'm just like, every haunt has dolls. Why? But
some people are terrified of
yes,
dolls.
and that's the thing is like sometimes you just got to plug things in that will hit little spots in the general public where like, we don't like dolls or we don't like clowns. And it's, we're haunters that want to run a haunt for haunters, but know if only haunters buy tickets, they're probably busy on Fridays and Saturdays, and we're not going to be open next year. So there are times we have to cater to the general public with some of those, traditional tropes that we might not love as much ourselves because they don't feel as creative, but we try and, hide these little Easter eggs and things to make it a little bit more fun for us. And this is one of those spots as well where there are a lot of scares built in. So somebody can scare from underneath the bleachers. People might think, oh, this is going to be a window. No, but there is a window right beside it, so they're often looking at that.
Okay.
The stage is fully walkable, so we'll frequently have somebody up there doing stuff, and there is a ramp to get them up and down instead of stairs.
I was going to say, John went somewhere.
Especially on those nights where there's a little bit of moisture, we don't have actors running up and down stairs where it's wet, because we are an outdoor haunted attraction.
Yeah.
So
This is also a hidden way for us to get up there too. So we have the little boxes.
Okay.
Helps the actor if they have to get back up there, they can boom.
Nice.
yes, so yeah, we could have an actor that pops through the bleachers here. They can hide behind that little section there. And then the idea is as you're going through the bleachers, you're kind of entering behind the scenes of the carnival. So here's where the guests would actually sit and watch a show, and then we're starting to get back into the darker parts of the carnival.
The darker part. Is this where the magic happens?
Yes, it is. Yes, Magic Michael's home. So
Don't touch the balls.
Don't touch
There's
the
a scare back there. There's also one here if we have an actor that is smaller. So a larger actor can go up top, a smaller actor, somebody that's mobile, or John who's 6'6" and a little bit of both can do that there. There's also a scare right through here to the right, so he can pop out from there if he chooses to. There's a scare behind if there's a quick actor, or we have multiple actors, they can pop in a very similar thing right behind that purple curtain.
Heck yeah. That's amazing for a trail, because we don't see many trails set up where there's that many scares for one actor.
Yes,
So.
yeah. So sometimes if we're lucky, we'll have multiple actors back here, and
Yeah.
especially on busy nights, we'll add a few more staff and do it. But on a slower night where, we just want to keep our actors busy and they want to have fun, because like our actors love acting. It's one of those things where we want to make sure that they have enough stuff to do to keep them entertained. So, and there's some openings here on the wall. I don't know exactly where they're at. This is an AI, yes, we used AI, I'm so sorry. This is an AI image of our builder, Adam. Somewhat there. I don't know if that's what the bottom half looks like, but that is him, and we have the unicycle riding bear.
Well, at least you've told it, how to use some of your characters.
Yes.
inside
Yes,
here,
yeah,
and
we
you're
always try
not-
and implement stuff, and rather than just using generic stuff. And no graphic designers have been fired in the making of these. We're a small haunted attraction, as I stated, and like all of our stuff is either through me or my main graphic guy, Ryan, and his wages have not gone down since AI, but his workload has gotten less because I don't need him to create posters of our clown, Mambo the Clown. And there's a little bit of a backstory there on Mambo the Clown. So our first couple of years, I know some haunts have like a backstage hype-up song, and maybe it's Dragula by Rob Zombie. I feel like that's a popular one. Ours it wasn't by choice, it just kind of happened where Mambo Number 5 by Lou Bega became the hype up song we were going to listen to before we go out every night, or at the end of a good night, we play Mambo Number 5 by Lou Bega. So as we created a clown, we were like, well, what do we do? What do we name this clown? We don't want, we don't want something generic as Chuckles or, something like that. And we're like, well, what if we do Mambo the Clown? And also there is a big haunted party, which has since gone away in Detroit. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it, called Theater Bazaar. It was one of the largest Halloween parties where they would get thousands of attendees. It kind of started on the old, I believe it was the old Detroit Fairgrounds, and it was just kind of like this underground party. And eventually they were like, hey, you guys can't just like come here and drink. So they eventually found a building at Detroit's Masonic Temple, and they were there for several years. And that was a big party that drew thousands of attendees, and it kind of started out as like a big top in the woods with these old style kind of carnival-esque facades. So there's a little bit of tribute to that in here. And they also had an icon character that they called Zombo. And their whole thing was Hail Zombo. And with Mambo the Clown, we're like, well, we got Mambo Number 5, and let's also throw a little ode in there to that Detroit history of Zombo the Clown with our Mambo the Clown. So, and of course we had to name a Mambo Number 5, so we had to come up with 4 before.
Yep.
As you see here, we have another scare.
Oh, I thought there was
something rattling back there, and an actor, if they choose to, they can also pop out from there.
Wow.
As we've seen scares too, where you like it when they can come out, but sometimes, especially guests that are not familiar with haunted houses, they go, oh, they're behind that wall. We don't have to worry about them. We see their arm, that's it. But if you see the arm and you see they're like, oh, like, whatever, then they can come out at them like, oh, wow, we didn't know that could do that, and it gets them in a different way. So, and we're entering here kind of to the dressing room of where the clowns and the characters would get ready. So a lot of times this clown will get people, and it surprises me every time because it is clearly a mannequin, because there is a mannequin foot flat stool for him. But if you see him there, sometimes people scare themselves in the mirror. And we also have a mirror over here that will focus on that clown. So sometimes I see that clown right in the left, or they'll catch this clown in the peripheral vision. And I hate giving this scare away because it is a good one, but I've seen lots of haunted houses do this before, so I don't think it's much of a secret anymore. But you can just kind of go right through it. So they'll often be distracted with that clown. They'll think it's real, or they'll catch themselves in the mirror. They're wondering what's going on in this mirror. And then you have this.
You put the stuff on the table,
yes,
and then you get the reversed poster on the other side.
Yes, and it was our main builder, Adam Greeno, that designed us. And I know he might even be mad at me for pointing this out. But because the makeup palettes are made the way they are not completely perfect. The pink is there. We missed some glue here.
Nobody's noticing.
Yes. The gold's there, the pink's there. They should kind of be switched around, but nobody knows that. Especially because he did go through the effort of printing the posters on the other side to be reversed to kind of sell that effect. So.
If they get that close, then the actor's already got them at that point.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. So we're leaving the big top, but we're still kind of in the Dingling Brothers Carnival Circus area. Here we have a full bus. You'll often see like the front of a bus or a facade of a bus in an attraction with the horn going off, and of course we do. We do have a whole bus. That was actually something that was on our property when we got it. The license plate says 1990, and if you look around, there are big trees, and I don't think they could have got this in any time after 1990. So it's probably been sitting back there since then, and it's been here since our first year because it was just here. And we also have no way to remove it. So it will forever be here. Not just the big top, but we have also got some other carnival-inspired stuff going on.
This one's one of my favorites.
Yes, it is a dark ride-inspired attraction called Mr. Sinister's Dungeon of Terror. We have built a queue for it the way a carnival would have, and this is something that we use very sparingly, but sometimes by this point we find groups start to catch up. And if groups are caught up, this is a perfect queue that makes sense within our storyline for waiting in a dark ride to re-queue them. So we don't always do it, and it doesn't happen that frequently, but we can always stop them here. There's room for a couple groups if they get bunched up, just to kind of respace them out.
And it makes complete sense because you would wait in a line.
Right, exactly. And that's one thing that we've thought about as we've gotten busier over the years is, well, how do we re-queue? Like we want to get people in quick, but sometimes there's going to be groups that run. Sometimes groups are really going to take their time and look at things, and we're trying to get creative with the ways that we re-queue. So here we have an actual queue that we had built, and then we're like, oh, we could use this for a re-queue. And then there's also things, as we'll see up there, like Camp Zika, where it makes sense to stop them for a camp registration. Oh, we got a couple groups. Oh, you guys are bunking together tonight, where we could put groups together if we need to. Here's Mr. Sinister's Dungeon of Terror. Our main builder, Adam, did a lot of work on this. And I mentioned AI back there, and I know we're not, it's a little controversial these days to use AI in haunted attractions, and sometimes we will use it on flyers and stuff, but that's because we're putting a lot of time into our sets. Like these here are bricks that were stamped with a sponge. These were all hand done, and it goes through the entire attraction, which is about a 20 by 32 attraction. So there's a lot of things that require a lot of time. And when we have a small group and a small budget, you know, there's some things that we don't want to skimp on and really put our time into, and there's some things where we go, well, if there's a flyer with a date on it, people will find it. So,
Right.
you know, we're not trying to use that to replace graphic designers or replace anything, but if we can find a way to integrate it where we can also make our attraction better, we think the experience in person is better than what you see online.
Fully support using it to help you reallocate resources.
Yes,
places where it's
absolutely,
more
yeah. Because
valuable,
I mean, most days it is me, it is John. There's our main builder Adam, who works a 9-to-5 job, which is why he's not here today. And often his mom will come up and help. And you know, it's like it's pretty much the four of us that are building these things in the woods. And you know, we got a good manager up front, but he does more of the stuff, you know, when we're open. And you know, so we get some hands here and there, and I don't want to discount that, but yeah, it's really 3 or 4 of us that do the majority of the planning, the majority of the building, and on top of that, you know, we're also cleaning up the property. We're cutting the grass, we're cutting the trees down, we're trimming everything so people aren't getting poked in the eye with sticks, because we are a haunted trail. But yeah, come on into the dark ride here.
Yo, Mr. Sinister.
Yes, and that name as well. Adam was the one who built this, and it was a big baby of his a few years ago, and he named it the Dungeon of Terror. He is a big fan of Halloween Horror Nights at Universal, and that's kind of what really inspired his passion to haunted houses. And the Dungeon of Terror was one of, if not the very first haunted attraction that they had done as a part of their show. So that was a little bit owed there. So Mr. Sinister has no relation. That was just a character that we created, but the Dungeon of Terror was something that they had. And we're like, well, for a dark ride, you know, can't go wrong. And that, I hate to backtrack, but there is a brand new ride cart out here, which we actually were surprised, a ride cart for the Dungeon of Terror. So this was not here as of yesterday about noon.
Okay.
John went back and went, hey, I'm working on a special project. And we're like, oh, do we really have time for that right now? We open on Friday. And he made somehow, even for him, a fully sittable ride cart at 6'6". So it's still probably going to get a paint job to fit this scene a little bit better. But,
I
you know,
love that.
for
And
being
it can actually move.
Yes, there are wheels on it. So
wow.
it was actually an old shop cart that we had that we haven't used because the tires are a little flat and it's not the most convenient to move. And we're like, well, he found a use for it. So find a way to recycle things. And
I love it.
it was an impressive project that we were all surprised with. We're like, what? There's a cart back here now? So that's something we talked about when we initially built it, to sell the idea of the dark ride, not just, oh, you're going into a haunted castle type thing. Like, oh, we want this to feel like a dark ride. And haunters can pull that, you know, haunters can make that association, but the general public doesn't always go, hey, look, this is supposed to be a ride.
Right,
and this kind of sells that effect. Thanks to John over here. So.
Good call, John.
Yes.
Yep, they've been talking about it for years, so I've been figuring might as well while they were get busy doing their stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna do a secret project. So I got the cart back here like 2 nights ago, started to build the frame, then yesterday just planking the whole thing. So I'll eventually, they said we're gonna probably paint an homage to this, get it, because there's black lights in this area, probably black light the paint similar to up on here, so it really pops.
Be real noticeable, yeah.
Try to get some little ornament. I got some ideas and stuff coming in the mail already to put on here to really pimp it out. And like I said, it could even be possible. Yeah, pimp my dark ride.
There you go. There you go. We're gonna go ahead and trademark it right
I support this.
John's going to.
Right here, this is a very 80s inspired dark ride. So a lot of the stuff, you know, we want it to feel like a dark ride. So it is a little cheesy Halloween because it kind of is outdated by 40-ish years. So, you know, we got the jail cell with a skeleton in it. We got the bungee bars so an actor can lean forward, pull them apart.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know if I've seen the bungees.
Yeah,
don't know
it
if I have
depends, and that's
either.
one of those things where it just kind of depends on the actor back here. Sometimes they'll really lean into it, or they'll pull it out and come through, or sometimes they'll just interact from behind the scenes, and just really depends on the actor that gets put back
I've
here.
seen
so.
some where they just use they just rely on the thinness of the PVC to
Right,
bend
because
it
they
out
would,
of the way,
like
but I've
it's
not
just the
seen
middle
it.
two that have the bungees, but these ones do that don't.
Okay,
they do
yeah,
still
yeah,
flex,
yeah.
but they don't. You know, these ones are not locked into place the way these are indented, so that they can really come out. Or an actor could just walk through
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
if they want to come out and scare a group. Like
Very
that.
nice.
So, but this is one of the first scenes that we had. The way that I called it was the Pentagon of Fear, where I was basically creating 5 spots for one actor. Whereas, hey, we got 5 spots. So this whole thing works around a hallway. There's a hallway in the middle that John could essentially run up and down, and this is, you could interact with the guests in the very front of the attraction through a little slot window, the jail cell, and as we go around, every spot can be hit from that hallway. So if an actor doesn't want, you know, sometimes we have younger athletic actors who love to run around and move, and I used to be one of them, and now I'm a little older and my knees and back hurt, so I don't do that as much. But something like this is great where you just, you know, you have a 20-foot hallway and you can hit 5 or 6 scares if you'd like to. So, and this is more of our dungeon area.
I love it.
Yes, and this is a spot that leads into that hallway.
Hidden door. Very hidden door.
And if you guys want to take a peek back here, actually, but as you can see, you can enter the jail cell there. These hallways are relatively tight, but you got the jail cell there, you enter your way there, Of course, we have a drop window here, which we will see on the other side.
Oh.
And then there's always going to be an exit and entrance where they could scare them if they choose to come out as well. So one thing that we've started to do as we've gotten a little bit larger and gotten more guests to come through is we like being able to keep actors behind walls if they want to, because sometimes you don't know who's coming through. And we've had very fortunate luck at the amount of guests that we've had that have been very cooperative, but occasionally there's always some bad. Yeah. They do that sometimes where they knock back. You get some bad seeds in the bunch, and for actor safety, if they want to stay behind the walls and a safe spot with an entrance and exit, it's there. And if they feel comfortable with the group and going out and interacting, they're able to do that as well.
It's good that they're able to retreat and get out of the way.
Yes, have those escape routes in place just in case you get a group that's a little bit too rowdy or verbally aggressive and you just want to distance yourself from it. And this right here is probably my favorite part about the haunt that I hate. It's a lot of people's favorite part of the haunt, and it makes me so angry because what we are going through is a dark hallway that's just kind of tight. And when I ask people at the end, what's your favorite part? They go, we liked the dark hallway. And I go, why did we do all this work?
I think that's every haunter has to say that.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. There's not much to see here. Some draping fabric and dark hallway.
But it does make you feel uneasy.
It does. If the actor makes their way around, there are spots where they can kind of hide in and pop out of. And there is that drop window. So that is the only saving grace of this tight hallway working for me, is that we have a drop window that keeps them so close that they can't get their arm up to hit the actor even if they wanted to.
You get this guy looking down at you.
Yes. Yeah, that was an old prop actually from our friends Brad and Amber, who run Wicked Wick Soico and also TerrorWorks Entertainment. They just had an extra Halloween prop, and it was old and fit the 80s, 90s vibe of this dark ride, and said throw it in. So here we're starting to descend from the carnival. This used to be our main carnival facade before we had replaced the big top. Where the big top came in, this used to be the facade for our clown area over there, which was a little bit more clown oriented, but like I said, we wanted to get out of that, stuck in doing a clown. So we've talked about doing little things with this and changing it up. Right now it's a little bit more of a funhouse facade is the idea, but we've talked about making it into a mirror maze of sorts. So as you start to descend, we got our souvenir stand. Somebody spelled that wrong, I know.
They did, didn't they?
But none of our guests have ever pointed that out, at least as far as I know. And then here we have some midway games. And that's one thing that we're starting to work on. It hasn't been fully completed, but this fall we're expanding on this Dingaling Brothers Carnival and is going to expand down this trail. For those of you that have been here, it used to be kind of the lead up to our Hollow Hills Cemetery, which is undergoing some renovations right now. So Hollow Hills is getting redone. We're expanding the carnival a bit, and Hollow Hills will be redone for the fall, but right now it's a little bit in a transition period. So as you exit the midway, there are still stuff here that leads without. Yes, Commonwealth slobber knockers, and because we're so storyline driven, we like to try and tie everything together. It doesn't always tie together as perfectly as we want, but we can always get creative and find a way to make it connect. So we got the slobber knockers here within the carnival, and right here is something that we are working on. This was just added about a week ago. It is a Tunnel of Love. So that is one of the new attractions as a part of the carnival. We didn't quite bridge it together yet. That will be in for the fall. But we wanted to do the Tunnel of Love as a transition scene. I should say, I don't want to give away too much, but we have big plans for not this season, but next season. And we were trying to get creative on how to do that. And we're like, oh, the Tunnel of Love works as a good transition scene.
I've never seen a Tunnel of Love in a haunt, so
maybe
that's
Magic
cool.
Michael's going to make it come
That
back.
is never going to happen ever again. Yeah, the Tunnel of Love was a thing too, and because we're a trail, we see other haunts doing Valentine's Day, and we're like, oh, that'd be so fun. We got some cool Valentine's ideas, but we're like, we're a haunted trail in Michigan. I don't want to put my actors, my guests, or myself through doing a show in the middle of February. So we're like, oh, we could do a Tunnel of Love that kind of ties into the carnival theme a bit of being a ride, and we can still kind of touch that little Valentine spark if we want it there. Now, that being said, right now, it is nothing but a dark hallway that's a transition scene. It works well because we did that other hall and people loved it, so they have to like the dark hallway again, right?
I would think so. Yeah, I'm sure at night you're not going to know where you're going in here.
Yes.
Oh, it's just pitch black.
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah, with the curtain at the end, it is pitch black. And then you have this weird abrupt transition right now that will be fixed for the fall season, as the Tunnel of Love is not going to stay in that spot, but it's going to move about 30 feet back this way. But where it is now is just like, oh, we need to fill some spaces. We redo the cemetery. We're taking one part out. We're going to put this in, but we're making this to kind of move around. It's going to be a modular scene, so we can move it in the fall. And this will be gone, but right now we are just kind of transitioning into a crypt. So dark hallway to crypt kind of works. Tunnel of Love to a crypt, not really, but...
Well, they lure you in with the Tunnel of Love.
Right,
and
and
lure
then,
there, and then it's like, oh,
we
surprise,
got the
you're actually
flowers, right?
creeping
Yeah, we got flowers, black ones.
Yes. So as we transition here, we start to get into the cult area where I talked about Calloway before. This was kind of where he was conducting those cult practices back here.
It's not a cult, it's team building.
Yes, exactly.
When we come around the corner, she did freak me out. I'm like, who's that standing over there?
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing with these things is if you look at them, they're just white mannequin heads in the distance, or like they're these really cheap plastic masks that probably cost $5 and do not look great in the daylight. You can zoom in on them, but they do not look great in the daytime. But at night with the lighting back here and the silhouettes, and you get fog rolling, and especially if there's a real actor mixed in within them, it can become very scary very quickly.
I may have scared myself last week while forgetting that these are over here, and I'm the one that put them in. But this one we call Big Red, an homage to actually one of our actresses, Holly. She did a character called Little Red, which is like a werewolf, Red Riding Hood hybrid. And with the blonde hair and that, we just coined this Big Red because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
This is,
Yep.
So the cult activity was happening out here in this little path that we call a cult circle. And then last fall, so you guys probably have not seen this yet.
There's a lot we haven't seen out here.
This is kind of sprung up. So this was plans last spring of where the witch was leading to, and we have this witch house that doesn't look brand new, but it was in last fall. So this was our key scene.
You guys have changed a lot.
No
since
kidding.
last
We
time
really
we
try
were
to,
out
and
here.
that's the thing, because we love haunted attractions. We go to so many, and honestly, there's some we go to and we're like, wow, these are the same Q videos from 20 years ago, and it doesn't look like anything's changed, which there is sometimes something sweet about that. We're going, oh, this feels like it did when I was in high school, but sometimes you just want them to do something else because you love everything they do. Oh, let's do something, I want them to see what else they can do because everything they've done I've loved. And we love building haunted attractions, and it's probably the reason we're not more financially successful is because we like to build things. And we go, oh, we want to change it up because we don't want the show to feel the same. And every time we open, we try and switch at least something. So for our last fall, we had the witch house. This spring, we have that Conwell Candy Factory, and we also have plans for this fall with redoing some stuff in the cemetery as well as expanding on the carnival. So.
Heck yeah.
Of course, we have multiple scares built in. There's a small actor area here. This is one of the few spots where our actor doesn't have as many scares because it is a very theatrical role, and they are in more of a drapey costume, which if you are in the woods will get caught on everything. There are sticks everywhere. So they don't move around through the woods as much, where a lot of our costumes are meant to be, I don't want to say tight, but a little more snug and less flowy, so they're not getting caught on branches just when they're walking in and out of stuff. But there are a few scares here. Drop window here from inside their small actor hallway, and the rest of what they do is mostly theatrical.
It smells good too.
It does, and that is just the natural scent of a lot of the things that have been put in here.
Oh, wow.
It is very dark in here in comparison to everything else.
Also, if you see this up here, this was not like this originally. Adam, our main builder, accidentally fell through this. Luckily, he was okay.
Yep.
We just hear from across the. I hear from across the hall, and his mom also helps out a lot. So I hear her freaking out, obviously, because you see your son fall through a roof.
Yeah.
But luckily, everything was okay and all that stuff. But yeah, a lot of this damage was not done on purpose, but we kept it, obviously, and then we put a tree on the outside. You can see, make it look to the storyline purposes. But yeah, that was actually not how it was supposed to be. But
Be careful, Adam.
Yes, yeah. So Adam built the exterior of this building. He spent all last summer breaking his back putting this up, physically and almost literally. But in the inside of this was mainly done by TerraWorks Entertainment. Brad and Amber, they did everything to the inside of this, and there is so much detail within here. A lot of it is frequently lost because it's foggy and there's a witch, but it is lit a lot better at nighttime than it is in here right now. There are a lot of Easter eggs. I mean, you can see things even here where the roof is falling through.
Ooh, yes.
Of this witch house. There are vines, there are candles everywhere that add good atmosphere.
Oh,
And
I
of course,
like this.
what is it without a pentagram?
And some bloody stuff.
Yes, yeah. A lot of this stuff. I mean, there's tarot cards that they had specifically for this table. We didn't get this table like this. They built everything. We have real snakeskin here, and oddly enough, when we first built this, within I think it was the first week, we found 2 dead animals. There was a dead bird at the front, and a snake dead at the exit. And we see a lot of animals out here, but they're not frequently dead. And I'm not a big believer in paranormal and the real spooky stuff. I wish I was, but I can't get into it. But when something like that happens and we're like, oh, we're going to build this culty witch house in the middle of the woods, and then within a week there's a dead bird at the entrance and a snake at the exit.
When you've never seen dead animals.
Yeah, we haven't seen dead animals. It's a little strange.
So
here there is a loft up there as well. Sometimes, very rarely, especially like if I'm going through the haunt and not in character, I'm like, well, I could sneak up there and reach an arm down and scare somebody. So if you see something from above, I might be around. But there is room up there, and there's also little trinkets here too. Like here is a baseball. It's not a normal baseball. I play 1860s Civil War style baseball.
Oh, wow.
And I actually run a baseball company as well that provides the baseballs. And this is an 1860s style baseball that has made its way into the scene. And
cool.
I've been fortunate enough to travel across the country playing this weird game where we dress up and play baseball. And here's an exit here through...
down under the chimney.
Yep, and just watch your step there.
I love how you guys formed these sticks. And
Yes, yeah, that was one of those
branches.
things that we, I've seen other haunts do things with their natural landscape, and we had never really done it. And as we created this area, so pretty much from where we left that cemetery-ish area to up here where we enter the cemetery area, it wasn't initially a part of the haunt. So this was all cut and carved over the last 18 months or so. And, we don't normally take out trees much bigger than this, but we were like, well, we have these, and it's like, well, do we try and throw them out, or do we have a bonfire, or we could utilize them into our attraction.
Yeah.
So.
I see you over there.
Right again.
And in the daytime, they do not look scary, but as you approach them with
Well, hell, that would scare me as soon as I
right.
come around the corner. So
They've scared me back here as well, especially on the day when you're working by yourself. You forget they're here, you hear a bird that's in the leaves, and you go, what's that? And then you see these things standing there, like, oh boy. So here we have the Callaway Tomb, which leads back to that cultish storyline where the mayor, Victor Callaway, was conducting the cult activity. Here's kind of the family tomb back here. Into Hollow Hills, as that was also a good way for us to go, hey, we have two parts of this cemetery. Initially, it was all one. Then as we added this loop, we go, well, we don't want to completely redo the second half of the cemetery yet. How do we incorporate things with the witch house? So you kind of go on that venture through that trail, and then you come back here to the tomb, which leads you back into more cemetery-inspired designs.
Makes you wonder how much overlap there is between this Callaway business and the witch business.
Yes, and if you peek down that hallway, there is another actor hallway where actors from inside there can hit before they go onto the witch house, after they go to the witch house, and even a couple parts on the trail as well. So there's little secret spots hidden everywhere where actors can cover a lot of ground if they choose to do so. And a lot of stuff back here, especially as we go into this church, was also done by Brad of TerrorWorks Entertainment, and they did a lot. And that witch house is also our most technologically advanced scene. I wouldn't say it's anything, extremely insane that you've never seen in a haunted house, but it's definitely pushed the boundaries of what we've done here, and that was all thanks to Brad at TerrorWorks, and they do awesome stuff.
Very cool.
Brad and Amber are awesome. Definitely buy some of their stuff.
Yes.
Candles, scents.
Yes, amazing stuff. So this church was built, this is it was the initial focal point of our cemetery back here. I believe it was 2020 or 2021 where this first came in. And it was kind of a similar thing to the witch house, where Adam was the one that designed the outside and did all of the structural building, and then Brad came in and had his way with the inside, for better or worse. Where it's always like, oh, if we need something super culty and demonic and maybe a little offensive, we're calling Brad. So.
Oh my.
Yes, so there's a decent amount of stuff to look at, even though this isn't a major floor print. It's not the biggest structure, but this was one of the first larger structures that we had. And there are a lot of things.
Spot.
Yes, it is. It is and it isn't.
Up here.
There are a lot of things that have changed, and like I mentioned, those multiple scare spot hallways. This was one kind of before we had that, where there is the scare, here's the door, and there's not much else. So they kind of can interact up there, or the confessional. But aside from that, the actor's kind of stuck back there. So this is a spot that's in there that doesn't get used frequently anymore, just because they have that nice actor hallway down the middle where they can hit 5 or 6 different scares, or if they're here, it's 1 or 2. So on a proper night, we can make it work and put an additional actor here, especially like a priest character works perfect. But there's also strange things hanging everywhere that we figure is enough to look at. We got a gentleman hanging from the ceiling up there that may have been related to that cult activity.
Yeah. He looks a little burnt or something.
Yeah,
He's been there for a minute.
Yes.
Oh, we can confess our sins right there for sure.
Exactly, yes.
That's awesome.
So as you go here, we're kind of leaving the cemetery, which will be undergoing a full rebuild this fall, but we are entering into Camp Zika. So a lot of the storyline revolves around Camp Zika. It's kind of an ode to Camp Crystal Lake and the Jason movies without being a guy in a hockey mask with a machete. So we're like, oh, well, how do we do this and make it our own? So we did Camp Zika, and we found that a really fun idea and concept, because the main reason it drew me towards it was just there's a lot of haunted houses that are indoors that create outdoor scenes. There's a lot of outdoor haunted houses that create indoor scenes. Like I've been on an elevator in the middle of the woods, and I'm like, why? I don't know, like I'm on an elevator and then I'm in the woods again. It doesn't completely add up, but you know, sometimes haunted houses, they work that way. But we were thinking, hey, what can we do that's an outdoor scene that makes sense outdoors? We are an outdoor haunt, you know, like we don't need an elevator. We'll leave that to the indoor guys, let them have their thing. And we were like, well, a summer camp in the woods is absolutely perfect for an outdoor haunted attraction.
Yes,
so we have some leftover trees from our Christmas show that kind of fit in nicely. And this is going through a bit of a transition as well. So for the last several years, because this Camp Zika came in around 2019, and it is named after the virus, the Zika virus, because of the quantity of mosquitoes we found out here building in the middle of July. So they're probably getting picked up by the lens on the good cameras, but you'll still see them flying around even though we are in early May. Thousands of mosquitoes.
Makes me itch.
Yes, yes. But it's undergone several transitions over the years, and this is going to be the biggest one that it's going through, as now we are making it more of a Halloween in Camp Zika, where in the past it's been camp counselors and park rangers, and we had Bigfoot out here, and we're starting to transition more to trick-or-treaters. And we're doing like, oh, well, there's a camp, and a lot of camps will do small little haunted houses and trick-or-treats for the kids, and that's kind of the idea here. We haven't fully implemented it yet. It's just kind of in its beginning stages, because it was kind of a secondary add-on to the Conwell Candy Factory. So these kids are going to be a little messed up from eating that candy, and that was a perfect way to tie something from the beginning of the haunt to the back half of the haunt, where it kind of all becomes a little bit more cohesive.
Nice.
So,
and I think I saw on the bus back there was a Camp Zika written on the side of it, maybe?
yes,
I don't
yes.
know. Still
Have they been anywhere? Did that bus what did it used to be a Camp Zika bus that brought the campers?
Right.
And then the campers stopped getting brought to the camp? Or maybe the campers never left the camp? Did the bus break down and then the carnies took it over?
Maybe the carnies are responsible for some of the
They
funny
may be. So here we have our ranger station, which kind of welcomes you into the Camp Zika, aside from saying just welcome to Camp Zika, which we also have. And then we've started applying some like vintage Halloween decor, as this is getting into a more of a vintage Halloween trick-or-treat. And of course, trick-or-treat in Camp Zika tonight, and it is sponsored by the Conwell Candy Company. So, and we love vintage Halloween too. Like I'm a big fan of the pumpkins and the ghosts and the witches, and you know, we're a little bit half and half, where we have a little bit more like experimental stuff kind of on the front half, where you got like clowns, which are a little more modern, and the Candy Factory, which you don't see everywhere. But then the back half is very traditional Halloween, where you're getting witches, and you're getting a pumpkin farm, and you're getting a summer camp, which kind of is like a tribute to those original movies. So.
And whose face is that?
That is Jeffrey Bezos, that is somehow made out of a paper mask, and that thing has been in the woods since I think Camp Zika existed, in like 2019 or 2020. And you'd think it'd be worse, but we've ordered a lot from Amazon, and you know, thanks Bezos,
well.
right?
He is old enough.
Last spring, we kind of redid some stuff here in Camp Zika. This was one of the new things where we added some bunks. This was new for, I believe, halfway last year. And number 8 is just a sign of year 8. So this is our 9th year here at Deranged this upcoming season. This was built in year 8. If you go back to that original Zika sign where it said National Park, I believe number 6, that's because when that sign came in, where that Zika started to get a little bit more established, and that was in year 6. So there's little odes here and there with the numbers. Most of the numbers mean at least something. Might not be anything that's too exciting, but it means something. And that's one of the things as well, is Bigfoot's been a beloved character at our haunt that we've had for about 3 or 4 years. We still have the actor that loves doing the Bigfoot, but it's one of those things, as an owner, I walk through the attraction every night, and I'm not bored of him. He's a great actor, but it starts being like, well, I've seen this act, I've seen where it can go. Like, what else can we do to kind of freshen up the area without getting rid of the summer camp? You know, like, what else can we do with this scene to just add a new breath of life into it without destroying everything that we've built? Because I still like the sets and like the scenes, but you know, it's like, well, what else can we do? So we're like, oh, we'll do the trick-or-treater thing to just kind of get a different character feel. So we've also had camp counselors out here for years, and they're some of our most beloved characers that we've had, because sometimes they will talk to people for way too long. And those are the reasons for the throughput
And they can do
backups.
jumping jacks.
Yes.
Different things.
Yes,
Yep.
they will. And they,
Exercises, yeah.
yes, but that works well as a character as well, because sometimes when they do those, they're stalling you. You know, and it's not just like, hey, wait here, there's a group 3 feet in front of you. It's,
Right.
hey, do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups. And they're like, what? We don't want to do. Like, no, you have to do them. You can't leave until you do, because that creates that extra 30 to 60 second gap where then you're not just right on the tails of the person in front of you. Because especially with us, we do run a smaller crew. I mean, we're 20 to 25 actors normally on any given night, but because we have those 5 or 6 scare spots, it works out well because, you know, it doesn't feel empty when you got 5 or 6 spots. But if there are 2 groups very close to each other and one actor has a lot of responsibility, if they're not where they're supposed to be, there are areas that can feel empty. So on those nights, we want to really make sure that we got that spacing correct.
There's quite a bit back here, I must say.
Yes, there is.
Keeps going.
There is quite a bit, and we've learned as well as we've gone on. As I said, this is our 9th year. In the beginning, it was very easy to just build things in the woods. We're like, oh, I'll just bring some materials back. But now we've kind of built along the path, so it's harder for us to get back here. Like, it's still wide enough to get people in and out, but when you're carrying 8 to 12 foot long 2x4s and stuff, it gets a little more difficult. And here we have the rec hall for the camp and this swing set, which was another thing that John just added in. And it was one of those things where it's like, a lot of the times we like to recycle materials and find things, and a lot of this was, pretty much all of this was built out of scrap from other things that we've had. So the sticks are mostly here just so that none of our guests get great ideas to swing on this swing set.
You never
But
know.
you know, there was a plumbing company here before. We were here decades before, and you know, there were just some tires on the property. So like, well, we can have a tire swing.
Got a
And
tire swing.
I think that rope was grabbed off of Marketplace, and we just had some extra 4x4s, and then we also had this, which was from that plumbing company. There's a giant pipe. A lot of the pipes in the Conwell Candy Factory actually came from just being on the property, and these were just some remnants of it. So now we have a slide.
I'm waiting on John to figure out how to get down the slide.
Well, also too, the swing was actually found we found embedded in the ground over by where we built Conwell's Candy Factory.
Yep.
So it's-
So that's what gave me the idea. I'm like, we got a swing. I got this on Marketplace.
Absolutely.
I took the big pipe because actually, if you remember, back in Greeno, there was the pipe that you could actually crawl through.
Yes.
Yes.
The one thing earlier was the long one. He cut it in half for that. So I was like, gotta keep this sucker alive.
Oh, is he gonna do it?
Oh, he's gonna do it.
It is a
Of course I'm
working
gonna do it.
slide. Whether John will be working this weekend after that, I don't know.
You're taller than the slide, John.
6.5 foot man going down a 5 foot slide.
I'm talking about it's building.
Oh my god.
But we're entering into the rec hall, which has some good and bad to it. It was initially a cabin, and it's moved locations 3 or 4 times, and it's kind of undergone some different transitions. And this is a scene that stresses me out because when I come in here, I'm not the most organized person, I will admit that, but the amount of clutter in here is unsettling to me, and I think it works well because, you know, everybody's triggered by something different, and we're always trying to entertain people because you can't scare everybody, but sometimes you can just get those little things that eat at people's anxiety, and this is one for me where I'm just seeing these things collapsing and falling apart, and like these, I'm like, oh, this should be reapplied. Nope, we'll just leave the bear decaying up here. So.
It looks creepier that
Yes,
way.
and you get enough stuff here, and there's so many things to look at, even though they are all disgusting and gross. It allows a perfect opportunity for an actor for a perfect crawl scare.
I remember there being a low scare in the cabin.
Yes.
John can fit in all these places. I don't know how.
And as you can see, our actor likes to kick things that make loud noises.
Yeah.
Very tiny little woman does
Yes,
this.
yes.
I'm still shocked.
Yeah.
Smallest people tear up.
She's the
The one that
biggest
kicks
stuff.
that in.
Yes, it's like no joke. I've had to replace that, fix that. Left foot yellow.
Left foot yellow. Yep.
That deer actually did once upon a time talk. It was probably the only animatronic I think we've ever actually had, and it was used very lightly in our first couple seasons when we had the cabin because it was hooked up to a microphone, so you could talk to guests, similar to like the bass fish, but it was the
that's
deer,
cool.
so you could be chirping at the guests from the other side of the room. It grabbed some attention. He would also sing some certain tracks as well. So yeah, this rec hall is very anxiety-inducing for me as there is a lot of clutter.
A lot of things to wade through in here.
Yes, a lot of things to weave through, which just push you closer to the scares. So
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Ooh, I like
using
that.
the elastic.
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I like using the elastic.
and he's
to
got a-
hide it. Yes,
You got some knockers.
there's
man.
paddle.
lots of things around here, and we did have a character. I'm not sure the first time you guys came through the attraction, but back in the day, in our like initial 3 years, we had a conspiracy character, which is
I
still
don't
one of my
think so.
favorite characters to this day. He wore a tinfoil hat. He was rambling on
Oh,
about
no, we
stuff,
didn't meet
and he was the
them.
perfect way to tie any storyline because he would just be like, "Clowns, why are there clowns?" Because that's something I think through when I go through every haunted attraction. I'm like, "Oh, I'm in a cemetery with clowns."
Yes.
So like he was one of those things where he just kind of broke the fourth wall a little bit. Maybe maybe a little bit like a Deadpool for our haunted attraction at the time, where he could kind of poke fun at the silly things that we were doing, just because, oh, well, it's a haunted house, we got to have this, you know. So these are some remnants of that, where he would be typing on a computer, and he frequently had a bunch of sticky notes and decor and little storyline plugs within his room. So I'm sure he will find a way back at some point.
Oh, that'd be fun.
He may have been killed, but in the haunted house industry, anything can come back from the dead, right?
Oh, absolutely, especially with cult practices going on.
100%.
Maybe he just wants you to think he's been killed.
Yes, right. Now we're entering into the camp store. This was a scene that was new as well at our halfway went last year in 2025 when we redid our summer camp area, our Camp Zika. We had previously done a gas station, and we also had like a general store in the camp, but the general store was just a facade where the gas station was a walk-in. We're like, well, this feels a little redundant. Let's kind of combine them and throw them here. And it kind of swapped because we still have the gas station facade, but this is now the walk-in, as we felt it fit a little bit better into the area here. So, and also filling shelves with camping stuff is a relatively easy thing to do with marketplace finds and
Goodwills and
yes, 100%. And we're tying it back to the Conwell Slobber Knockers, and here's the Halloween version as they're trick-or-treating here in the camp. So
Oh, yes.
here we're kind of leading more into the trick-or-treating area. The idea is that the kids would be kind of running around to these little stores and businesses within the camp to collect their Conwell candy. And this is a scene that I have big ideas for with the pumpkins. But there's just a handful up there. I think there's about 15 or 20 pumpkins right now.
Does the West Nile Avenue have anything to do with the mosquito?
It 100% does, yes. The West Nile Avenue, in Camp Zika, of course, right? So you're going to get one or the other.
Uh-oh, we're starting to see some fish.
Yes, yep. We had a fisherman
boy.
that'll frequently be in these parts.
Look how creepy that looks.
Yes, very creepy with lighting.
Oh, God.
I remember, too, so you guys also do a special event where you may get stuff put on you.
Yes, yeah. So last year was the first time we did a blood sacrifice event, and that was for the cult sacrifice from Callaway as he was trying to resurrect his ancestral witch. This year, we've deemed it blood sacrifice as we didn't want to confuse our customers, but it's called Blood Sacrifice Candy Massacre because we're leaning more into the Conwell Candy Company storyline this time. So for that event, which normally is our halfway event, we'll do something quirky with like that. They will not only get splattered in blood, but it'll also be candy ingredients and sugary. I think we called it sugary sludge, but it'll be elements from the candy factory throughout, and who knows what else.
Oh boy.
Here we have CJ's Bait Shop. Most people probably don't get this reference. There's a show called The Mighty Boosh, and there's a thing called the character from a sketch show called Old Greg, and it's a notorious internet clip. And he's a fisherman, and what are you doing in my waters kind of thing. And he kind of inspired our fishermen out here. And there's a reference to a gentleman named Curly Jefferson in that sketch, which is where I got CJ's Bait Shop. So normally when we're trying to find names for something, sometimes they're great and really personal, and sometimes they're just, hey, this is funny, let's plug this in. But we try and find a way, because if not, we just call it like Smith's Bait Shop or Brown's Bait. There's nothing there, let's find something to put in.
I see a canoe poking out there.
Yes, the canoe was also one of the things that we initially just had on this property. So at some point, somebody decided to leave a bunch of stuff. There's been tires, cars, that swing. There's just things that we found around the property, and we go, hey, how do we implement these things? So before we had a canoe, and when we had Camp Zika initially, we're like, oh, we'll just put this canoe on the ground. And they're like, well, we have this big 13-foot canoe. Let's suspend it from the ceiling and create a boathouse. So that's what we did here. Yes, and here, of course... Here we have a gentleman that may be familiar with this area, not to reveal any, not to break kayfabe, but yeah, right. And this building was designed for our halfway event as well when we redid that camp last summer, and we actually built it on a little bit of an angle, because before we had a laser swamp, but it just kind of felt kind of abrupt, like, oh, you're gonna haunt, and now there's a laser swamp, which is normally how it goes, but we're like, well, how do we get creative to try and spice that up a little bit? So we're like, well, let's build this at a slight angle so the boards kind of run up, and then we can run a laser out of here that shoots kind of downward, so that it starts essentially at your feet, and it's like you're trudging through water.
Deeper,
yes, that's the idea at least. And then here we have the canoe, which may have the bottom cut out of it, for starters, to make it a little bit lighter to suspend from the ceiling safely, and two, where that laser goes is kind of right at the bottom of the boat. So in the laser swamp, an actor can hide right underneath that laser and pop out over the top, which gets a great scare almost every time. So, but that right there behind there also gets people very well, just hiding behind walls, believe it or not.
In the daylight.
Yes, and that's one of those things where it's like, are we just overthinking it? Did we need to cut out a canoe and suspend it so an actor could pop up from the ground, or should we have just put the tall guy behind the wall, you know? And our fog machines have been very good to us, but we do use fog a lot here, because especially being outside is like sometimes it sprays and just goes up and out, and sometimes it'll linger. So we spray a lot either way, and sometimes it's very difficult to make your way through these parts.
You use fog for your laser and not haze.
Correct. Yes. Yep. We use fog for pretty much everything, and we use it everywhere we can. So here we have Deja Voodoo, which was a structure that we had built and initially was up front as a smaller version. Kind of a play on Deja Vu. We got girls, girls, girls here. But for those of you who are not super familiar with the trail, you probably don't realize that this is just the side of the witch house. So we've done a big loop around, but we were like, hey, we got this big structure. Let's turn it into something on the side because you're going to be walking by it. Rather than going, hey, we're walking right by the witch house again, let's make it into something that's thematically fit for the dock. So a strip club kind of, maybe it's more of a yacht club type thing, but it's voodoo, right? You know, you can still see some like trick-or-treat buckets and stuff as we start to implement that into our storyline as well.
Which is also a little homage because I obviously put the witch's brew here right near the thing.
Yes.
And I have a friend over back here. We don't use it often, but
I think I see part of. Oh no.
Yeah.
Ew! You don't need to use that actually.
Yes. We've got we got a couple fake spiders, but out here we normally have real ones. So, and as you can see, that is old Greg's shack over there, kind of an ode to that old sketch as well, which is a completely goofy, off-the-wall sketch. But we like goofy and off the walls, and you know, here I was like, you can't scare everybody, but everybody can be entertained in one way or another. So
yes, you will have fun no matter what.
that is the idea. That is the idea. Because that's the thing too, is like we love going to haunted houses, and as we go to more and more as haunters, it gets harder and harder to scare us. And we can be impressed by cool sets or awesome animatronics, but for me, still the actors are what make the show anywhere you go. And if they're willing to interact and talk back, even if it's scary, that's great. Or if they're going to make you laugh, that's great. Just finding a way to include you and make you feel like the show is personal to you, I think it makes a world of difference. So here we're kind of heading into our district area, the area we call the district, which is kind of like a downtown's Covens Field. We have Bink's Bar. If nobody noticed, the witch house is very inspired by the Sanderson sisters' home, and I had made a lot of pushes for our main builder to make a water wheel because I felt I needed a water wheel. And then when we decided how much materials and time it was going to take, I didn't get my water wheel. But it is very inspired by the Sanderson sisters' original house from the Disney movie. And we didn't want to say anything Disney, but we figured we could get away with Binks the cat. So we got Bink's Bar here.
That's awesome. Oh, look at the sign.
Yeah, we got a little sign here kind of leading you throughout the town. Roxbury Lane, they're home haunt, but they also film videos as well, and they're friends of ours.
Haunt in the Roxbury, yeah.
Yes, Haunt in the Roxbury. Yep, John included them on here as a little ode to them.
Heck yeah.
Kit Kat Crossing for Kitty Cat, Binks' Bar, Fini's Meats. As I said, my name is Michael Fini. Adam Greeno had the Greeno Industries, who is our main builder. His name is spelled different, Grgnon, which is pronounced Greeno. And for when we did the Greeno Chemicals, it was just Greeno. Greeno, simple. It's spelled differently than my last name, but I was the guy that got the meat shop, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, we got Fini's Weenies, because it rhymes. Yay.
Get some more Magic Mike references.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a little bit. So.
Totally not creepy stuff at the meat market.
Yeah, a few things in
No, those
mind.
look completely normal.
Most meat markets have those cuts
Heads
of meat.
of glass coming out of it. Yeah.
And with us working with Brad and Amber with TerraWorks, we got some new tech stuff involved, and we're doing a few more sensors and stuff. And I guess I'll spoil it, but here we have one of our motion sensors. And if you guys have seen the movie Accepted, there is a scene where Jonah Hill is dressed up in a giant hot dog costume on a college campus kind of being hazed, and he's going, ask me about my wiener.
Yeah.
That is the audio that plays when you walk by our hot dog cart. So, here we have the ice cream stand. This was not our original facade. We've done different things with the ice cream stand. Initially, it was just a flat facade. That was very boring, but we've kind of spiced it up over the years. Added some horror character popsicles, which will frequently grab people's attention to distract them perfectly for a scare.
Yeah, I want to know where to actually buy those.
I would love them as well.
Yes.
They could make something like that.
Somebody make those.
And the district is a brief bit of transition scene as we lead to the Gordon Farm Pumpkin Patch. This sign kind of directs them there as they leave the district. You got a couple more things to go by. When we built this gas pump, $4.20 we thought was a very high gas price.
Yeah.
And we've learned now that gas prices are way higher. So So we, you know, the numbers will normally mean something, sometimes meaningful, sometimes stupid, and well, here we are. And here we have our Shell gas station. As you can see, this also took some damage from the storm and is being taken over by the witch to kind of encompass everything where the witch is kind of taking over, where her vines and her wrath is starting to emerge. So, and the Dunkley Auto is a friend of mine, Ben Dunkley. There's a car over here that we once moved, and the wheels did not spin, so we jacked it up and he hooked it up to his truck and just pedaled to the floor to move it. And I was like, well, if you're gonna move this car, I guess we can throw your name on something, dude. So that's over there. Yeah, so our trail initially used to go this way. So the health station used to be right in front of the car, and then out in that open field where we got some building materials was kind of the exit to the attraction. And since we've expanded on this way, that's become actor parking, and as the haunt has grown, we've needed to find more space, and this is the way that we've been able to do it. So it used to be a small structure there, and then you'd exit, and now we've added on 2 or 3 additional structures. And actually this right here, pumpkin, as you kind of lead into the pumpkin farm, was a part of my grandma's Halloween decorations that I kind of just got as she passed on. And she was a relatively large inspiration for my love of Halloween. I think it was just because I liked sugar as a kid and she would spoil us with Halloween treats, but I think that's where it all started. So there are little things like that. You know, not everything is a marketplace find, but we're kind of getting to a farmer's market of sorts right in front of the farmhouse.
Carve your own pumpkin.
Yes, and we do have some nifty scares built in. We've seen the stretch fabric before, and actually before that Gordon family sign, I should have pointed out there, we have the stretch fabric that used to be a stand-up, but it was one of those things where we had it for like 5 or 6 years, and we're like, oh, customers are gonna know where it's at, they've seen this here, you know, it's not gonna work. Still worked. And in retrospect, I'm like, oh, I should have just kept it. But we turned it horizontally. So now underneath the Gordon family sign, an actor, if they're feeling active and mobile, they can crawl out and get scares out of that stretch. But here it's just a tear open door, can pop open there. This one here is a fun pop-up scare as well. So an actor can be underneath here. Like I said, my main builder, Adam, his nephew, Nolan, was one of our actors for a while, and you know, he started out especially young. He's grown up a bit since then, but when this was put in, it was perfect because he was the right height to kind of sneak in here, where if I do it, I'm kind of like this, scaring up, but somebody smaller can have a cool little pop scare out of there.
Actually.
Yes, yeah, smaller people can get good pop scares out of there. So, and here we are approaching the Gordon family farm. This vulture has seen better days. Another thing that still looks okay in the nighttime, but even when he arrived, his feet were broken off. This was something that I bought as a way to throw in a little Easter egg to one of my favorite band, 21 Pilots. Oddly enough, I know they're kind of poppy and such now, but they have a lyric where it's, my house is the one where the vultures are perched on the roof. There's a song, Pat Cheetah, from their album Trench, and I went, oh, let's do a vulture, and we'll put it on top of the roof as just a little tribute to that. And it made its way from the roof on a couple different structures to the wings breaking off and the feathers flying off to, it's on a mailbox now, but that was the initial thought of that.
More pumpkins. I just love how they're all different.
Yes, it was a big challenge trying to find 200 plus faces to carve. But you know, it being an outdoor haunt, there's only so much we can do in the winter normally. So that was a big project over the winter. Was like, okay, we're just going to sit down and carve pumpkins for 40 hours a week. And last winter we were working on. I personally did all the candles in the witch house. So there's I think like 200 candles, but it's like PVC pipe with, you know, glue. Stiltby Studios. Alan Hops was the one who did it. His team did a video on that, and that's where we got that idea. And we're like, these are perfect. So we did those, and that was a massive project. But you know, one of those things that we can do in the off season when we don't really have much time or ability to build on a snowy, icy property. Here we are entering into the Gordon family farmhouse.
Oh wow! What is that? An actual TV?
Yes, it is.
Holy
it is an actual TV with a fake antenna. A lot of the things in here have, you know, seen better days as it's, you know, a rundown farmhouse, but it's also something that we've had for probably 4 or 5 seasons now. So this is probably the next thing on our docket. Similarly to Camp Zika, where we're kind of refreshing it with new characters. This is probably the next thing in line to get it because people still enjoy it. But, you know, as somebody that walks through the attraction 25 plus times a year, I'm going, okay, well, I want to kind of see something different out of here. So
aside from here, I don't know if I've seen one of the round, but that's probably where the expression harkens from, watching it on the tube.
On the tube,
you know?
I would believe so, right?
Maybe so. Comment below if that's true or not.
Here we have a grandfather clock. There's not too much meaning to this other than the fact that we've occasionally purposefully and often unintentionally been linked to Stranger Things. Where there's
Okay.
a lot of things, some stuff that was here, like the bus. Season 1, the kids are hiding underneath the bus, and we're just like, we just have a bus. We couldn't get a bus back here if we wanted. But then there's things like the mall, where we saw Stranger Things, like, oh, they have a cool mall. Let's inspire. And if you kind of look back at things, you're like, wow, there's a lot of similarities. And some of it's on purpose. We didn't mean to copy the show completely, but like we had a grandfather clock, and then they did the whole thing with her. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
there's another tie in there. So, and with it being my favorite show, it works out. I'm not arguing about it. So,
Right, it's one of our favorites too.
Yes, it is.
and this is another one similar to that rec hall where it's just like, oh, a messy kitchen. Like, of course, that's going to be a little anxiety-inducing. So. This is approaching the final scene of our attraction. Before we did have the farmhouse be the final spot, but we were kind of like, well, you know, there is the kind of tie-in to like a Leatherface thing with the chainsaw, but we're like, well, if there was a chainsaw on a farm, it kind of makes more sense at a barn in most situations. So that was part of the reason behind the barn here. It was just because I love that chainsaw finish. You know, there's a lot of haunted attractions, and I think there's a good debate to be had about, hey, what's a good finale for a haunted house? The chainsaw is so overused, but as somebody that loves traditional haunted houses, there's still nothing of the smell of gasoline and a chainsaw and running out of a haunted house.
Exactly.
And it's like,
People will get absolutely mad if they don't get a chainsaw finale.
and that's
you
the
know?
thing where it's like, you know,
That's-
we've been to so many haunted houses and the haunts were great, and then it's like, oh, there's an animatronic that like kind of moves and makes noise, and we walk out and we're like, was that it? Like, there needs to be something, and like the chainsaw seems to just be that thing.
Send it
You know,
home.
it's
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, it's a classic. It's overused in most places, but we'll give it a go.
And there's pumpkin carving going on. So
Yes,
what better way to
of
carve
course,
pumpkins
right.
than
Yeah,
with a chainsaw?
carve them up. Yep.
Of course, they're just carving humans.
Yes, yes. And even in here, there's multiple scares built in where there's a sound box scare that's motion activated. The barn door can swing open and they can scare. So that chainsaw actor, even though they are the chainsaw actor, they can still get 2 or 3 scares before they pull the cord on that thing. So.
Heck yeah. And last time we were here, it was a pumpkin, I believe.
Yes. Often it was the pumpkin carving up the people rather than the other way around. You see all the carved pumpkins, and then he's kind of got that twist. So,
Yes.
tying in the Gordon storyline, the family was kind of the originators of the town of Covensfield, one of the main families with a lot of farmland. And then, as they lost their son on the property, he didn't just die. They lost him. They didn't know what happened to him, and that goes back all the way back to the ancestral days, where maybe the Calloway family was also around. So is there something that happened with the witches and the kids? I mean, our witch house is very inspired by Hocus Pocus, you know, so maybe you can make those connections there where maybe the kids were being lured in by the witches, and that's why Jack went missing. They sold off parts of their farm to different elements that developers, the old mayor who developed them all, and then the chemical plant, because they needed the money as they kind of invested everything to try and find their kid that went missing.
Wow, it's all intertwined.
It is. Find a way to intertwine all of it. And most of the time, the storyline is built around the storyline, you know, and then we're building the areas to it. But sometimes too, where it's like, oh, we need to do this set. Let's find a way to tie this in. So. And then we have a small little exit here, which isn't anything special aside from the exit. And we're realizing we should have made it wider, as when a group of 5 or 6
Oh.
starts
See,
running
you
from a
got a nice
chainsaw,
straightaway
they
here,
really
yeah.
fight their way to see who's the first one through that and who's going to be
yeah.
the one left behind.
Hey, maybe that's a little subconscious psychological, addition there.
It
Making
really
folks
is.
figure out who's
yes,
going to go through
yes,
first.
and sometimes they
Yeah.
realize they can just go around it and end up in the same spot.
Yeah.
But not always the case.
For folks that want to learn more about Deranged or maybe buy a ticket or come see you
Yeah.
guys, where do you want to send them?
Head on over to derangedhaunt.com. We're also on social media. Facebook, Instagram are the ones we use the most, and that's just at Deranged Haunt.
When do you guys normally open up for the season?
We will be open at the last week of September this year, and then we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all throughout October. We've added some Thursdays this year as well, and we're also running a Christmas show, and we will be running a special show, which even though you noticed today that the mall is for sale, it is going away, and we will be doing a Black Friday the 13th, because we have a Friday the 13th,
Oh.
as our Shop Till You Drop, Buy Till You Die farewell to Starfall Mall
Oh, wow.
in November.
For folks that come to Deranged Haunted
Yes.
House, what's the feeling you want them to leave with?
Joy. I think joy is the right thing, because we want people to feel entertained. We want to scare people, and because we're very actor driven, if the guests are scared and reacting to those scares, we're leaning into that and we're scaring out. But if they're walking through and admiring sets, we want to hit our scares so it doesn't feel empty, but we'll let them admire the sets.
Yeah.
And sometimes if people really just want to interact with the actors, we'll have some banter, and our actors are normally more than happy to joke with you and throw some zings each way to keep people entertained. So.
Sounds good, Mike. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for having
Yes.
us.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it.
All right.
Well, it was great seeing you guys. Thank you guys for coming out. We're getting ready for our halfway to Halloween show, so now that you guys have seen our haunt, get out.
Get out!
Mike. Oh gosh.
Bye, Mike.
Bye, Mike.